Hey guys, James Wachob with TurnkeyInvest.com. Today I'm going to bring you a turnkey investment checklist. When you're identifying properties in any city, this is a checklist that I would use if I were going through my due diligence of which properties might fit the mold for me to buy. And I want to share this with you guys as a free gift. So let me share a screen with you. We have the website opened, and then I've got a PDF started, and I'm going to rearrange this maybe into priorities, but I just threw this together. This is, some of the things I've been thinking about the past 3 days. This is what I would want to know if I were buying a home 2,000 miles away. So is this property in an A, B, or C type neighborhood? Everybody has a definition of what A, B, and C are, and you're more than welcome to make your own. Mine starts with home ownership. An A neighborhood has mostly homeowners, a C neighborhood is mostly rentals, and a B neighborhood is in between. I layer a lot of things on top of that. I've got other videos about A, B, and C, my definition of, and how I take a deep dive into how I label those on my website, including the crime in the area, how much shopping is available. In an A neighborhood, you're going to have a Whole Foods. In a C-class neighborhood, sadly, you're going to have a convenience store or a Family Dollar. In a B neighborhood, you're going to have a Super Walmart. In an A neighborhood, you're going to have multiple dog parks and places, walking trails, all those things. In C-class neighborhoods, again, sadly, not much to offer there. What is my cash flow? So cash flow to me is cushion. What does that mean? So cushion in case, worst case scenario. If I ever got to a point where I needed to lower my rents to find a renter because the economy is so bad or for any reason, it's my break-even point. So if I have $250 a month cash flow, of course, I'm using that money for debt reduction on that property so I can buy my next one. And I've got other videos telling you about that strategy. And I'd be more than happy to go through any of this one-on-one with you guys. Schedule a call with me or one of my teammates, and we can walk you through the different scenarios we have for that. But cash flow is great for debt reduction. It's also a cushion in case you have a tenant that moves out early, unexpectedly, or does damage to the property. Those are good things. But it's also an ability to lower the rent and still break even. So if I have a house that's rented for $1,000 a month, it has $250 a month cash flow after all expenses, I have the ability to take that property to $750 a month and still break even. Now, I've been through the Great Recession, and rents raised in Memphis throughout that recession. Moderately, but they did go up. I love this saying, I heard it a long time ago, with every foreclosure, a renter's born. So in a recession, there's a higher demand for quality rental properties than ever before. Throughout the coronavirus, we've been collecting all of our rent. People are paying their rent. We have had some people pay part of the rent now and then part of the rent later. So there's that to deal with, but that's okay. We have not seen an effect at all during the coronavirus. We've rented a lot of houses. We continue to show properties and rent houses daily. So we've got that cushion, but how much is my cash flow and how is that calculated? So what expenses are accounted for on the pro forma? A lot of people selling a investment property are not going to account for everything they need to on that pro forma. Now, the difference between somebody just trying to sell you a property like most realtors and a company like mine is we have clients that we've been working with for 5, 6, 7 years and continue to work with, plan on continue to work with for many decades to come. So if we were to sell you a property, that would not be good for either of us. But you want to take into account everything that is a true expense, including vacancy and future repairs. Those are the two most common things I see people leave off of a pro forma because in their mind, they think maybe it's not a true expense, but it is an expense. So make sure that vacancy and future repairs are accounted for, even though a turnkey property should have been renovated fully so that you don't have a lot of big ticket item expenses for the next 10 to 15 years. You want to be saving for that new roof one day, even though your house has a brand new roof on it. You want to be saving to replace that water heater one day, and that comes out of the gross rent. So what is my cash flow and what expenses were accounted for in that pro forma? So I have a lot of videos where I do a deep dive into my pro forma. It does account for vacancy. It does account for future repairs. So here's a simple one. Is the property I'm buying vacant or occupied? So if it's vacant, okay, how many leads does a property manager have on this home? And what measures are being taken to find a quality tenant? Remember, it's got to be a quality tenant. And is the target rent achievable? So that's the questions I would ask my property manager if I'm buying a house and it's not currently tenanted. If it's occupied, or if you have a tenant ready to move in, and here's what ready to move in means. They've signed the lease and they've paid their security deposit and first month rent. Until you have those things, I continue to market a property, because there's several times that people have said, I'll sign the lease and I'll bring you the security deposit and rent the next day, and they never show up. So until you have that security deposit, first month's rent, continue to market your properties, because you never know, maybe they have a life change, or they find a different property while they're out, go to get your money. Before they come back, they found a different property that they want to rent. A detailed scope of work, number 5, that shows all work being performed on this property. So if you're buying a turnkey property, and let's just pause and talk about turnkey. So a turnkey renovation, in my mind, is a house that's been fully renovated and is not going to have any major repairs for the next 10 to 15 years. So your big ticket items, I've listed them here, are your roof. Your roofs are expensive, $5,000 to $8,000 to strip off the old roof, 1 or 2 or 3 layers of roofing. Repair any rotten wood or decking. Come back with felt paper, and then heavier felt paper in the valleys. Apply that new asphalt shingle roof. That's all we do in the Mid-South, is the asphalt shingle roofing. So that's what I'll talk about here. But what type of roof is on the house? If it's not brand new, how old is it? And how did you come to that number of how old it is? Usually it's a skilled roofer putting eyes on it, and they can tell by how much granular material is still left on the shingle. Number 2, the mechanicals. The heating and cooling unit, of course, how old are those? Are they brand new, or are they a couple years old? Now that we're a little bit more blessed in this situation, you can tell from the serial number how old the air conditioning, the heating is, the water heater, the appliances in the kitchen. What appliances are included? I should put that into this list, and I will be adding and reprioritizing this list. But what appliances are included? So is there a range included? Is there a vent-a-hood included? Dishwasher, microwave, or vent-a-hood? Are you putting a refrigerator in the house? Very few times do I put a refrigerator in a house. That in the Mid-South and Memphis, Tennessee, it's very uncommon. The refrigerator would be included with the rental. In some parts of the country, they include washer dryer. We do not. I've never put a washer dryer in a rental home in Memphis. So number 3 on subcategory of number 5, trees. So I love trees. They're beautiful. I'm not a tree hater, but in the Mid-South, big 100-year-old oak trees are a pest on your rental properties. So how many trees are on the property? How close are they to the property? Are there any overhanging leaves, branches from those trees overhanging my property? So always look for trees. A good source there, Google Earth, Google Street View even. If you aren't in Memphis, Tennessee, a lot of you guys watching this are not. Your provider, whoever you're buying this house from, have them go out there, take a bunch of pictures and video, FaceTime you from the property. I mean, with all the technology we have now, your provider can virtually bring you to the house. Flooring. I want to see hard surface flooring in all my high traffic and wet areas. So what does that mean? High traffic areas, living room, hallway to the bedroom, bedrooms, dining room, breakfast area, kitchen, bathrooms. Those are wet areas. So LVP, luxury vinyl plank. I hear it called a lot of things. So that's what it says on the box. LVP flooring, luxury vinyl plank flooring, is great if you're putting it down over a monolithic slab, so concrete floor. An old wood floor goes down pretty well as long as it's nice and clean, really clean. A tile floor. So I've put LVP over some ugly tile before. It looks really, it bonds really well, and it made it look a lot better. It doesn't do well on floors that have a lot of give to them. So you can't put LVP down on anything. You can't have any kind of moisture. That LVP will come right up. So what type of flooring? Is it in the high traffic areas, the hard surface? Now, my tenants overwhelmingly prefer carpet in the bedrooms. My average property has 3 bedrooms. To replace that carpet is less than $450. So if I can't get 2 to 3 tenants in 6 to 7 years plus of that carpet, then I've got the wrong tenant. That's for sure. But I choose to put carpet in the bedrooms. Overwhelmingly, the tenants like it. It makes the house less cold, less commercial feeling, and it's inexpensive to clean, and it's inexpensive to replace. If worst case scenario, if you had to replace that carpet altogether. But everywhere else, I want to see some hard surface floor. There's homes in the Mid-South in Memphis, Tennessee, and the surrounding area with carpet and part of the bathroom. Get rid of that for sure. That's going to be gone. That's going to be ruined. First tenant in and out. Carpet upstairs. Absolutely. Most of these homes are not custom built homes. If you have a hard surface floor throughout, it's going to be loud in the house. But I mean, it wouldn't be end of the world if you did some hardwood upstairs, but I do carpet on the stairs and upstairs a lot. In the bathrooms upstairs, always a tile or hard surface floor. Number 6, what type of crime is in the area? So simple question, lots of tools. If you were buying a $3 million apartment complex, you might want to fly into town and check the area out, get a good feel for it different times a day. Go by the local precinct, talk to the sergeant on staff. Local law enforcement is really open to talk to you. Trulia offers a crime map. That's what I use. It's a great tool. Google has a lot of information per zip code and the different areas that you can look into. Your provider should be able to tell you, what kind of crime do you see in the area? You're out and about all the time. Do you feel safe there? Just know what kind of crime's in the area. Weather conditions. So in the Memphis area, we are blessed to have very mild climate. We're far enough north that we have escaped the hurricane belt. The last time there were major hurricanes down on the coast, Memphis gets a heavy rain. So we don't have any coastal conditions to contend with at all. We're below the rust belt. So up north where it snows a lot, rust and wear and tear on the exterior of your home, especially the roof. Having 2-3 feet of snow on a roof on rental properties would scare me to death. So Memphis, snow is an anomaly. So what kind of weather conditions do you have on the property that you're looking at buying? Tornadoes. So Memphis is very blessed to have very little tornado type of traffic. Long story. A lot of people say the weather comes west to east. It hits the Mississippi River, which is my western border, and dissipates. So I don't know. I'm no meteorologist, but that sounds good to me. All I know is my parents are in their 80s and they've never had a tornado to deal with. Here's a good judge. So I know people that live in the Missouri area. Joplin, Missouri was devastated by a tornado. The whole city was wiped out. Springfield, Missouri, my brother lives in that area. It's not uncommon to have a storm shelter there. So maybe in the garage or a certain part of the house, they have an actual storm shelter. I don't know anyone in the Memphis area who owns a storm shelter. No scientific data there, but that's a pretty good mark. We don't have tornadoes to deal with around here. Number 8, a copy of the sample contract to purchase. So I'm getting ready to buy a house in San Diego, California. Let me put yourself in some of your shoes. Okay, well, I'm considering this. Shoot me over a sample of what I'm going to be signing. What is this going to look like? If I just fill my name in, a close date, then it should be that simple. So I want to read through all that up front. A sample property management contract. So if you're buying a house, you're the first time to buy with us, we should be providing you with a sample of what it looks like that you'll be signing as a contract with us, and we'll be signing as a contract with you to be your fiduciary, your boots on the ground to make sure that that's all taken care of for you. A copy of the sample lease. So what is your resident signing? That person that's renting your house, what is that resident signing? And how is that in your favor as the owner of this property? Number 11, photos. I'm telling you, before, during, after. Cleaning crew sends me photos. The tree guy sends me photos. That's how they get paid. So as my cleaning crew is leaving the house, they send 12 pictures of the home. When my guys go and cut the grass, they send me pictures of the house. When my roofer is roofing a house, he tears the roof off, takes pictures, lays down the felt paper, takes pictures, puts the roof on, takes pictures, and sends them to me. Of course, we inspect the roof and hand him the check there on site. but without those pictures, you don't get paid. So we archive those photos in the diligence vault for you. I like to see the house when it was first purchased, then it was under renovation, and then of course the glamour shot that everybody sends out of the after photos. But photos. Comparable sales. What are other homes in the area selling for? That's important. So we at turnkeyinvest.com, we have reverse engineered this whole process. Before going in and making an offer to purchase a house, before meeting that person that we might buy it from, I know exactly what that house will sell for after a full renovation. Comparable rents, just as important as the sales price. So, okay, I know pretty well what homes rent for in the Mid-South. You might be buying your first house in the Memphis area. So you see on my website, the rents that we have posted. Where'd that data come from? Well, it doesn't only come from the sources we give you. We have some internal data we use and local knowledge, but it is nice to have some actual data. So in the diligence vault on my website for each property, we give you that information, the comparable rents, comparable sales, lots of photos. All right, what are the annual taxes and how are those calculated? I should put in there, where'd you get that information? I mean, did you use a tax calculator, or do you know that for sure that's exactly the taxes, or are you estimating? So if I'm buying in any location in the Memphis area, in every area, there's different municipalities, different counties, and they're all different. So you should know how they're calculated, how often they'll be reassessed, how the assessment works, and exactly the taxes you'll be paying on this property. So I'd add that to your checklist. What are my insurance options? So this insurance is talking about if the house burned to the ground, if a tree fell on it. Hopefully you don't have any big trees around the property that could fall on it. Turnkeyinvest.com, we give you multiple options. We have a group policy with 3 different providers, and we're always searching for lower fees and better coverage. So, we've gone out and done a lot of this work for you. All of this information is in the diligence vault on my website for each property for you to access it easily at any time of the day, 24 hours a day. You can go on there and grab this information. Of course, you can call us and we'll walk you through each of these questions as well. I go through everything on this checklist before we buy a house to renovate it, to sell to you. What size is the lot? So bigger is not always better. Is the lot tiny? Is it a 0 lot line? And there's just a little patch of grass in the front yard and the backyard maybe? There's a renter for that for sure. I do a lot of those. Is it half an acre or larger? So is this going to be a problem in the future for the resident to keep up? Are we going to start getting letters from the local municipality saying that the property isn't being kept as well as it should be? Or the homeowners association, if there's a homeowners association, need to add that to the list. I'm writing it down, HOA. So how big is the lot? So I would, if I know I'm going to get this question, so what's the ideal, James? So it depends. It depends on the type of property, but you just don't want a lot that's too big for the resident to be able to keep up. All right, foundation. What type of foundation does this property have? Is it a basement? In the Mid-South and in Memphis, Tennessee, that's pretty rare to have a basement. It is a monolithic slab. So quickly what that means is it's a solid piece of concrete with steel reinforcement sitting on the ground. You cannot crawl under the house. There is not a bit of subterranean livable space, a bit of subterranean space, period. There's no water heater. There's no washer dryer downstairs underground. That's the majority of homes in the Mid-South built 1990 and newer, and several homes built in the 60s and 50s and 70s as well. So monolithic slab, crawl space. So a crawl space, especially on homes built in the 50s and 60s, you're going to see a lot of those. I like them because you can actually go in and repair plumbing easily. You could run an electrical outlet into the living room easily. With a monolithic slab, you're not going to be crawling under that house. Crawl spaces, maybe a little bit of upkeep. Some crawl spaces can get damp if there's water sitting under there. So that's something you want to look at. Something your third-party home inspector definitely, they charge more That's one way you'll know it has a crawl space. One, your provider should be providing this information. Two, your home inspection is going to be about $150 more expensive if it has a crawl space because they have to put on the jumpsuit, get under that house. Or is it a split level? So what is a split level? You walk in the front door, you have some living area. You can go down 3 or 4 steps into a living area, up 4 or 5 steps into another area. That's what we call a split level in the Memphis area. So, on the checklist, for beginners, I just want to know what is my foundation, and then I would have a list of questions based on each of these. So is the property located in a FEMA flood zone? So a lot of areas in America where people are doing turnkey, they're selling homes that are in flood zone, and hopefully it still makes sense financially because you have to have flood insurance if you're taking leverage. If you're not taking leverage, you probably want flood insurance. In the Memphis area, there's not enough flood areas that you guys should be buying houses in flood zones. So, but it definitely needs to be on your checklist. So yeah, I've bought about 5 or 6 of them because I wasn't using a checklist over the years. Just assumed that this property was not in a flood zone. Well, we all know what assume spells. So always check and see, is your property in a flood zone or not? Exterior construction. Y'all hear me talk about, I like a house that's a little tank of a house. Brick, tiny bit of siding, roof, aluminum, vinyl windows. Indestructible is what I'm looking for on most of my rental properties. Not every property gets that. Vinyl siding is great. Aluminum siding is great if installed properly. Hardy board is amazing. It's a concrete material. You don't see a ton of that on the houses that we're renovating and selling. On my new construction, you will see hardy board. Is the roof a hip roof, or are there gables? So a hip roof would mean that all of the home comes down to the siding and there's no large triangular pieces of the home that are covered in siding. Those are called your gables. What age is the roof and what material was it made of? Are you using a 3-tab shingle or an architectural shingle? All those type of things. Windows, are they aluminum? Are they vinyl? Are they wood? So wood windows can be quite costly if you're not kept up properly, and you have to watch after painting them every so often. You want to know what shape those windows are in right now if they're wood for sure. How close is the property to major employers? So, are you an hour drive from any major employer? What shopping is available in the area? So is there a super Walmart? That's where most of my renters are going to shop. Or do you have to drive 30 minutes to get to a major grocery store? What parks and outdoor features do the residents have? So in an A-class area, you're probably going to have multiple options. In a C-class area, you might not have any. And that's okay. It just depends on the type of property you're looking for. Are there sidewalks and street lights? So most of the properties you're going to see come on turnkeyinvest.com are in neighborhoods with sidewalks, street lamps. However, some of my A-class properties are not. I've got one right now in DeSoto County that's not. But I would want to know that. So a lot of the residents are going to ask this question or say, hey, well, this doesn't have sidewalks and street lamps. Or some people are not looking for sidewalks and street lamps. They want that more country feel. So it depends on your clientele. It depends on the type of property you're buying. What type of residents will be attracted to this home is what all those questions, the past 5 or 6 questions I just asked, sum up. Who provides utilities, fire, police, etc. So who is the utility provider? You want to know that that's easy and, that it's being taken care of and, is responsive. Where's the closest fire department? Who is responsible for taking care of the crime in the area? If you ever have to file a police report, are they coming from way away because this is a rural development? You want to know these things. Does it have public sewer, or is it on a septic tank? I personally don't do properties on septic tanks. Maybe one day. Right now, I don't know enough about a septic tank. I've never had a septic tank in a house that I've built or that I've lived in. So I stick with public sewer. And is the water public, or is it on a well? And same with that. All my properties come with public water. Is this house attached or detached? So that sounds like a silly question, but I have had people tell me they bought a house from a website, not going to name any names, big website, and they thought that it was everything in the picture, but it was actually a house attached to another house with a firewall down the middle. So they own the right-hand side of the house, someone else owns the left-hand side of the house. So is this an attached single-family residence or a detached single-family residence? Is there any storage? So this is an easy one. Most people can relate to this. We all have stuff. So is there a utility room? How big are the closets? A little building in the back of the house can be invaluable when it comes to finding a renter. It makes it more rentable. However, we don't get any more rent, if any. So what kind of storage does the house have? And again, depending on the type of tenant you're looking to attract, maybe, minimal storage is okay. There is one argument to say you don't want to have too much storage. You don't want to attract some hoarder who's bringing everything home, right? And covered parking. So covered parking is one of those things that makes the house more rentable. You don't get any more rent for it. But you've all heard me talk about my ideal investment. My ideal investment is a tank of a home, so very low maintenance in a good area, 3-bedroom, 1.5 bath to 2 bath, so 1.5 bath or 2 bath. I do like 1 bath homes in certain areas with some type of covered parking. So that could be a 1-car carport all the way up to a 2-car garage. Covered parking is nice. I'm going to add to this list HOA. Is there an HOA and how much? And what is behind my property? That's one I forgot, but it just made me think about it. So is it a commercial facility behind the property? Is it power lines? Is it another house? And 90% of the time, that's what you're going to hear is it's a house behind the property. It could be a shopping mall. Who knows? So what's behind my house? If you guys have any questions or items you could add to this checklist that you have, please share it with me and the team. Leave it in the comments of this video, and I'll add it to there if I feel like it's of value to my clients. So I hope this has been helpful. Reach out to me and the team. We will send you a copy of this PDF that you can use while evaluating every one of my properties or other properties you might be buying in other cities. Thank you so much for your time. I hope this is good information. Have a great day.